Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to look at how to create details on spherical edges. So it's up to you what you use. You can use an entire sphere, which is over here on our right, or you can also use the half sphere, which is over here, and really any curved shapes that you want. So for our demonstration today, I'm going to use the half a sphere. So the first thing I want to do is drag it on the work plane, and I'm going to enlarge it. So I'm going to make it big so that you can see it. Okay, and I'm going to make the top, let's say about 60. I'll click on the numbers. Okay, so there we have it. We'll move it to our center so that you can see it, and we'll have a closer look at it. Okay, so there we go. Now my next step is going to be to add different shapes. So I'm going to do a couple things here. So I'm going to add this half a cylinder. Okay, and again I'm going to extend it through. It's probably gone really far. Okay, that's okay. You can just bring it back in. Okay, there we go, and I'm going to zoom in. I'm also going to use a, let's see, use the box. Okay, and there we have it. And I want to duplicate that half cylinder, so I'm going to press Control D, and I'm going to move it up. So I need to do that by using that arrow key. Okay, and then move it back. And I think I'm going to duplicate that one more time. So Control D, lower it, and then I'm going to spin it around as well. Use our compass tool. There we go. Okay, and the great thing is it's easy to align because you have the compass here, and it's showing you exactly. So our shape is going to look something like this. If you really wanted to center all those pieces, you could highlight everything and go to our align tool here, but for me it's not really that important right now, but I do have quite a lot of shapes on there. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to group all of these shapes. So I press Shift and left click, Shift and left click, and Shift and left click again. And what that's done is that selected all of those small shapes, and I'm going to group them over here on the right hand side. The next step is so you can see as well everything's turned into the same color. The next step is I'm going to highlight the sphere, and I want to duplicate that half a sphere. So I'm going to press Control D, okay, and that's going to enlarge it. And let's see, I'm going to enlarge it by 70 for the height, and the width, let's do 90 and 90 so that it's bigger and you can see it. Okay, now as you can see, the only problem is we can't see what the sphere looks like inside, okay, but we do need to center it. So the best way to do that is to create the sphere as a whole, okay, so that we can actually see inside. So what I'm going to do is I've selected already that outer sphere, and I'm going to shift and left click to also select that inner half a sphere. And what that will allow me to do is to align the shapes. So you'll have this, these little lines come out, which will help you center the shape. Okay, so you can see it's still not quite there. Okay, and there we go. So now it's completely centered inside that other half a sphere. Okay, so I'm just going to click off, and I need to keep that outer sphere selected as a whole. Okay, so you can see it's translucent or transparent. So every time I do that, I can actually see inside the shapes. So my next step is going to be, just like we did before, is to drag that cube, which is going to be used as a way for us to cut away those unnecessary and extra shapes. So we do want to make sure that we cover the entire surface area. And there we go. So you can see that all parts of the shapes will be covered. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull it up a little bit here. Okay, the next step is to select that outer sphere. Okay, that is our hole, and we're going to also, just like we did before, select the cube as well. And after we've done that is we're going to group those two together. Okay, so that you will get something that looks similar to this. You can see it from the bottom here. Okay, our next step is to make the large cube a hole. Okay, so I'm just going to select it, make it a hole, and then you can actually see inside again. So you can see how we're going to use this cube to cut away those extra pieces that we don't want. All right, so our next step then is we need to select the small shapes as well that are in here. So I'm just going to shift and click. Okay, so now I've selected those shapes and that cube. So the final step then is to group those together. We'll see what happens. And voila. So you can also too, I made the shapes large so that you could see what they look like, but they can be, of course, much tighter, much closer to that outer sphere. And then finally, I'm going to group all of those shapes together so that it is one solid shapes. And you're done. So feel free to experiment with these different techniques and see what you can do. Thank you for listening.